G'day Pickleball family. First thing to know, as shared on pickleball.com, MLP leadership addresses player agreements and pay cuts. In a letter sent out today to MLP signed players, MLP leadership addresses recent adjustments made to player agreements in the pursuit of creating a sustainable and thriving future for the sport. The letter focuses on the player agreement negotiations that have taken place over the last few weeks and makes mention of the intended merger between PPA and MLP, which is referred to as NewCo. It's disclosed that previous MLP leadership signed players to an unsustainable and unauthorised contracts without the knowledge of a vast majority of MLP's owners and executives. And the letter goes on to state that the previous leadership responsible for these actions is no longer associated with the MLP organisation. From this, it's assumed that previous leadership refers to Steve Kuhn, Julio DiPietro, Brooks Wiley, and others. The present leadership states that it is engaged in a multi-pronged effort to ensure the long-term success of all stakeholders, including working closely with players to right-size compensation and work obligations post-merger, as well as reducing MLP's overall operational expenses in various areas such as staffing, event venues, and logistical costs. As a result of these collaborative efforts, MLP says that we are drawing closer to completing the planned MLP-PPA merger and having a healthy, viable and sustainable pro pickleball ecosystem. They also shared the following key points of progress. Over 85% of all 2023 Premier level players have accepted reductions and new agreements with the NewCo. A significant influx of capital totaling $50 million is expected to fund 3 years of MLP expenses, including player salaries, pending the completion of the merger. MLP owners have pledged an additional $10 million annually to support operations. Even after amendments to player agreements, the industry has seen a 300% increase in total player salaries projected for 2024 as compared to 2023. The letter reassured players that those who accepted reductions in compensation would receive proportional reductions in working days, with day rates remaining the same or even increasing for those who accepted adjustments. Players who did not wish to take salary reductions could have their original contracts honoured. Nearly all of the most recent contracts that MLP players signed committed them to 200 days of work. However, there aren't 200 days of MLP play scheduled for 2024, leaving many players without the ability to fulfill their contractual obligations. In order to fill the gap and make financial sense, rumour has it that MLP players were told that the remainder of their working days would be used to help out with camps, clinics, exhibitions, social media content, and other duties. Finally, the letter states that revised contracts would be distributed to players soon, and that Chris Patrick, Bruce Popko, and John Goldman would work individually with players to finalise the agreements. It's also mentioned that if the MLP-PPA merger is not completed by January 31, 2024, the new agreements would be null and void, and deals would revert to the contracts signed with MLP or PPA, leaving the future viability and sustainability of MLP uncertain. It's not currently known which players have accepted pay cuts and or which of them have chosen to stick with their original contracts. The exact compensation that each signed player was set to receive is also unknown, but some of the original contracts were said to be in the multi-millions over 3 years, and that pay cuts started at the six-figure mark. 40% cuts for MLP players across the board in exchange for a proportional cut of working days was what MLP is originally said to have proposed. And if you've made it this far into the update, please be sure to dink that like button and or rate and or subscribe on the platform you're watching or listening to this on so that it can be shared with and found by other fellow pickleballers. Second thing to know, as shared on Pickleball England's pickleball52.com site, dates announced for week-long 2024 English Open. The 2024 Pickleball English Open will take place from 8 through 14 August and has been extended to a week to allow more players to take part. This year's Pickleball English Open was the biggest pickleball event ever staged outside of the USA, with 1,063 entrants from 36 countries playing across 40 courts in 94 brackets at the Telford International Centre, TIC. For next year, Pickleball England faced the conundrum of needing to raise capacity to fit in an anticipated 1,500 to 2,000 players, but could not find a venue which held the appeal of Telford. Organisers felt the atmosphere offered by TIC, confirmed by overwhelmingly positive feedback from players and sponsors, meant they had to look at options which allowed them to remain at the venue. Their solution was to make the event a week-long pickleball extravaganza. The US Open and US Nationals are week-long events, so this is a proven model to increase capacity. Karen Mitchell told Pickleball 52, we looked at various ways to manage the event, but concluded that to enable players to minimise the number of days they needed to stay, we would split the event by age. That is not to say that players can't attend the event on the days they're not playing to meet up with their pickleball friends, far from it. We will have lots of great games to spectate, lots of stands to visit, lots of fun things happening, and lots of recreational play in the evening to ensure plenty of opportunity to mix. Pickleball England's board has also increased the number of age brackets, adding a 45 plus and a 75 plus, as well as adding skinny singles for the 70 plus and 75 plus age brackets. Further details are still being ironed out, but Karen added, it's our aim to try to recreate the alchemy that made the 2023 English Open so fantastic. Third thing to know, as also shared on pickleball52.com, Pickleball England stars dominate Mediterranean Open. The lure of some December sunshine and competitive pickleball drove 44 UK players to Mallorca last weekend for the Mediterranean Open. The Mediterranean Open is the first in a series of 4 tournaments run by Luis de Cristobal and his team at desirable Spanish locations. Last weekend's tournament was held at the Rafa Nadal Academy at Manacor, Mallorca, with €5,000 prize money for the elite pro level. The venue did not disappoint. Friday's weather disappointed, pushing play indoors for most of the day and forcing some brackets to finish on Saturday. But suntan lotion was required over the weekend. English players cleaned up in the pro events, with Thaddeus Locke winning gold in the singles against Spain's Sabrina Mendez 15-6. Sharianne Ricardo from the USA won bronze after losing 15-9 to Thaddeus in a thrilling semi-final. James Chowdhury, who took gold in the English national singles in October, won gold in a thrilling final against US pro player Brandon Lane 15-12. Brandon was dominant until the change of ends. Luis Laville secured bronze, beating Marcelo Jardim, a professional padel player originally from Brazil and now resident in Spain, 15-6. There were 28 entries into the men's event, so this was a brilliant result for James and Lewis. Each of the players won €375 for gold, €187 for silver, and €62 for bronze. In the women, beat Spain's Sabrina Mendez and Maria Fernandez 15-6 to take home the golds. England's Molly Kubrick-Finney and Hermione Baxter-Chinnery took bronze, beating the other losing semi-finalists, Pia-Lena Ander and Isabel from Sweden. 10 teams competed in the draw. 18 pairs competed in the men's doubles, in which Luis Laville and Peter Hitchman beat James Chowdhury and Carlos Perez in an epic battle with a narrow 15-13 win. Bronze went to Spain's Dani Vega and Alvaro Prieto, who beat the other losing semi-finalists. By Sunday's mixed doubles event, only Thaddeus Locke was still eligible for a triple crown. 25 teams competed in the round robin before the top 2 from the 6 groups went through to the knockout. After 2 great semi-finals, the scene was set for another showdown between Thaddeus Locke and James Chowdhury versus Pei Chuan Cao and Luis Laville. At this year's English Nationals, it was a thrilling 3-game affair. In Mallorca, it was 1 to 15. The result was the same, with gold for Pei and Lewis after their 15-6 win. For both the men's doubles and the mixed doubles, Lewis was roared on by his 15-strong fan club from Roehampton Club, where he coaches pickleball. So, for anyone counting, Thaddeus, Pei, James and Lewis all came away with 2 gold medals each. That is an emphatic 8 out of 8 at the pro level for these players who have been dominating this year in Europe. Paddles up.